After that, he proceeded to Ateneo and then to the place with Father Visa. He reported on the condition of the criminal who provided the some prospect of conversion because he had requested the retraction formula. As a result, he asked the prelate for the formula he had promised, but he informed him that it had not yet been completed, and he was about to send it to him. When he arrived at the fort, it was already dark. He found Dr. Rizal to be irritable. He inquired about the prelate's formula. And finally, about 10 o'clock, the convict demanded it emphatically. He called and requested that he need to read it to him, without letting him read it first. They both sat down at a desk with stationery and began reading it. With the quote, "Father, do not proceed. That style is different from mine. I cannot sign that since it should be known that I am writing it myself." End of the quote. He said after hearing the first paragraph. And then he presented Father's peace formula, which is shorter and more concise. And that was the end of it. He began writing with a steady hand and clean letters as he offered the idea, occasionally offering an observation or adding a sentence. Dr. Rizal had clearly yielded to the impulse of grace after the conversation, since he had retreated into himself and prayed as he had promised. While composing his retraction, he appeared to be in this state. He carried on reading, with a quick suggestion of his own and an explanation from him. He continued assenting and writing. Then he agreed and admitted everything started in the formula. When we got to the line where Masonry was condemned, he resisted signing this sentence of the formula. With the quote, "I abhor Masonry as an society, condemned by the church." End of the quote. He explained why. He admitted that he had known some nasty Masons, but that those he had met in London were merchants who appeared to be respectable people. It appeared that he was also implying that the type of Masonry practiced in the Philippines did not necessitate renunciation of Catholicism. In any case, it appears that Dr. Rizal was only allowed to a few of the first degrees, where members are not required to expressly reject their faith. He proposed to write after making some observations. Sieur Fresno, chef of the picket, Senor Maury, and adjutant of the plaza signed this declaration or retraction with Dr. Rizal. Finally, he declares and affirms that he left in the company of Josephine Bracken and a Rizal sister a little time before Rizal emerged from the chapel, from whom he separated after a while. He was bringing me Rizal's own handwritten retraction, which he and the witness had signed. Before arriving in Bagumbayan, Rizal went to the Ateneo and handed over the aforementioned document to Father Pio P, who brought it to the place the next day and handed it over to Archbishop Nozaleda. His Grace gave it to the Reverend Thomas Gonzales Fay, it his secretary, who kept it in the secretary's office, in the chest of guarded documents. This is the last information I know, thanks to His Grace, the Most Reverend Bernardo Nozaleda, and his secretary's testimony. The rest of what I've said, I know as an eyewitness and because I was present during the occurrences. End of the quote.
So, good morning po. This topic naman po is about the best evidence ng the Rizal retraction. So, these are the reasons of retraction of Rizal. First is he wanted to marry Josephine Bracken, who is pure Catholic. Second is to save his family from further persecution. And third is assure reforms from the Spanish government. So there are two kinds of Rizalists. These are Masonic Rizalists and Catholic Rizalists. So the Masonic Rizalists, these are the ones who believe that Rizal didn't retract, and Catholic Rizalist believes that Rizal retracted. So this evidence from Father Manuel A. Garcia, a archdiocesan archivist. So they are the ones who collect and preserve the documents. Freemasonry kept asking for the Rizal retraction, but there was no trace of the document. Some people attempts were made but ending up with no results, and document existed and was claimed by 1,001 person who had seen it. So marami talaga nagtatangkang malaman kung talaga bang nag-retract si Dr. Jose Rizal. So, story of finding the evidences of Rizal retraction according to Father Manuel A. Garcia. So, noong 1935, meron silang bagong vault. Nagsimula na magtrabaho si Father Manuel Garcia noon. So, inutusan siya mag-ayos ng mga papel sa mga stante. So, sa kanyang pag-aayos, kanya napag-alaman kung ano yung kayamanan ng simbahan dito sa Pilipinas. Tsaka, sabi niya, nakakaawa lang dahil wala daw Pilipino ang may gustong sumulat ng kasaysayan ng simbahan sa bansa natin. Noong May 18, 1935, habang nag-aayos siya ng mga papel, may nakita siyang bundle ng papel na pinamagatang Masoneria, na ang ibig sabihin ay Bundle of Jewels for Filipino History. At syempre, laking tuwa na yun at iniingatan niya yun. So, si Father Garcia called His Grace na nasa Baguio. So, the following day, nakita na lahat nila ng papel at sinekreto muna nila to. So, His Grace, Monsignor Ode Doherty, and late President Manuel L. Quezon were close friends. Si Manuel L. Quezon, niretract niyang Masonry noong 1930. Tinawag si Manuel L. Quezon ni His Grace sa kanyang bahay at binigay ang bundle ng papel at sinabi niya kailangan maipakita itong mga papel na ito kay Teodoro Calao. So lahat sila pumayag na tawagin ang director ng National Library. Nag-iingat silang lahat kasi alam nila na si Calao ay isang Freemasonry ng 33rd degree. So, tinawag nila si General Carlos P. Romulo na editor ng The Herald. So, si Romulo and Father Garcia, prepare na nila yung paper ng The Herald. So, yung The Herald na yun, may kita sa headline na yun is yung Rizal retraction found. So, inaral ni Calao yung mga papel at sinabi niya na parang may kulang sa mga documents ni Rizal. Sa kabila ng opinion ni Calao, hindi satisfied si Archbishop O. Doherty, kaya nag-request siya na si Professor Otley Beyer, isang professor ng anthropology sa University of the Philippines at curator ng UP Museum of Archaeology. At isa siyang handwriting expert at siya yung nag-examine ng retraction document ni Rizal. At siya rin yung magde-decide kung ito ba ay totoo o hindi. So, during the faculty symposium of the University of the Philippines noong 1950, naglabas si Professor Beyer ng speech about sa Rizal retraction na naka-tape record. So, sinabi niya doon na di siya involved doon sa controversy. Inaral niya ng 2 beses yung Rizal retraction at nung pumunta siya sa Archbishop Place, tinignan nila yung folder kung saan makita yung documents patungkol sa Rizal retraction. At dun sa folder na yun, may 40 or 50 documents na firmado ni Dr. Jose Rizal. And andun yung mga documents tumutukoy sa marriage ni Josephine Bracken. So yung document na yun ay filed sa marriage file na nagko-contain ng 3 to 4 letters from Rizal na dagdag dun sa file ng retraction. At meron din doon yung nagre-request ng marriage kay Josephine Bracken. At yung iba pang letters na nagre-refuse sa marriage unless mag-sign si Dr. Jose Rizal ng retraction. So, lahat ng documents na magkakasama, yung Rizal retraction document ay nakapin dun sa original folder tulad nung sa mga documents na kasal ni Josephine Bracken. So, next po is si Barya.
So I am Jan P. Iman Barya, and this is the continuation of the retraction of Rizal. So let's start. So sabi dito, is the retraction are written and signed by Rizal. So based sa author, nung in-examine niya yung document itself, hindi siya satisfied sa nakita niya. Kasi even though nung nakita niya 3 or 4 letters ni Rizal, hindi pa rin siya satisfied sa writings, kung writings ito ni Rizal. So sabi niya, hindi siya magbibigay ng genuine opinion sa writings hanggat hindi niya nako-compare yung letters and writing ni Rizal dun sa document. So ginawa niya, in-examine niya ito at kinumpara sa probably 150 letters and documents in Rizal's handwriting. Dagdag pa niya, sa 30 or 40 years na experience niya na nag-examine ng handwriting documents, wala daw siyang slightless doubt sa every word ng paper na yon sa written by Jose Rizal, except sa signatures ng witnesses below. Sabi niya pa, the whole document is in Rizal's normal writing. So, sabi din niya, nasa kustodiya na din daw yung document at nasa Museum Letters of Rizal written to Professor Ferdinand Blumentritt. Andito din daw yung huling sulat ni Rizal gabi bago siya in-execute. Dagdag pa ng author na kung sino man ang magbabalak i-compare yung letters sa ibang sulat ay iisipin na magkaparehas ang mga handwritings na nasa sulat. So now, opinion of Dr. Jose Idal Rosario, handwriting expert with the collaboration with the late Albert S. Osborne. Now let's us hear the opinion of another writing expert, Mr. Dr. Jose Idal Rosario. He studied handwriting analysis under the late Chuan Shea McGovern, the Los Angeles expert. He collaborated with the late Albert S. Osborne, the international authority on handwriting analysis, by preparing the data on certain Philippine cases submitted to him by the justices of the Supreme Court of the Philippines. He said that he carefully compared the handwriting ng retraction, hindi lang ultimo adios, and with the letter written by Dr. Jose Rizal sa kanyang defensor na si Don Luis Tavriel de Andrade, as well as sa manuscript of the farewell address to his mother, Doña Teodora Alonso, dated 13 of December 1896, but also with the numerous letters of Dr. Jose Rizal, now in the archives of the Filipiniana Division National Library. Sabi pa niya, hindi daw siya makahanap ng kahit ano sa Dr. Rizal retraction which does not proclaim that the retraction is in fact and truth of the authentic and genuine handwriting of Dr. Jose Rizal. So next, the characteristic of identify between the handwriting and the retraction and the disputed handwriting of Dr. Jose Rizal. So next slide, the capital handwritings. So The execution and writing movement in capital letters, including the different varieties used as in the letters D, J, R, I, P, V, S, C, M, and D, lahat ay kay Rizal. So, dito naman sa next slide, the small handwritings, which is H, T, R, O, G, P, and J ay lahat handwriting ni Dr. Jose Rizal, and check in every respect including the variation of form whenever they occur with the form of execution of similar letters and distributed letters of Rizal. So, sabi dito sa dalawa, yung capital handwritings and the small handwritings na nakapaloob dyan sa slide is lahat daw yon na-identified nila na handwritings na Rizal. So, that's all. Thank you.
What would have been very significant in point of identify is the constancy and the comparative slopes of each constituent letter with respect to another, within a given combination of words.
This is the only true basis upon which statistics bearing upon slope may legitimately employ to determine the identity of handwriting. See Captain Arthur D. Quirk, Forged Anonymous and Suspect Documents on page 49. And disfortunately agree in all of Dr. Rizal's writing including of the retraction. Point which proves beyond question that the retraction is undoubtedly an old authentic document is the presence of perforation caused by termites in the upper left corner, and especially the perforation occurring over the letter C in the creo found towards the end of the sixth line of the retraction. Perforation shows that the paper is old, and also that when the paper was attacked by termites or bookworms, the writing must have in the paper, or else if the writing was recently made, as someone wishes us to believe, then the ink would have run through the preparation and would thus soil the reverse of the paper, which is not the case in the retraction. It shows the proper color of old iron gallionate ink which have been truly oxidized during the course of time by natural ages, and there are no indication whatever to suspect that the document has been artificially aged. Conclusion: in this particular case of retraction of Dr. Jose Rizal, which has been suspected in some quarters as being a forged document, all indications and symptoms shows that it is a genuine, authentic old document written and signed by Dr. Jose Rizal. Thing I am sure of the Rizal retracted in this document was his affiliation with Masonry and his reason why that Masonry is the enemy of the church and as such prohibited by the church. Inasmuch he returning to his church, he could no longer be a Mason nor a Catholic at the same time. Jose Rizal knew that the church forbade it and still forbids it. Why should be the anti-retractionist begrudge Rizal of his return to his church? Many other great Filipinos like Quezon and Luna brothers retracted their Masonic affiliation and nothing is said against them. Why single out Rizal? Else had Rizal done that may be considered contrary to his status as the son of the Catholic Church. They say that he fought against the Catholic Church. He was the bitterest enemy of the Church. This is partly true and partly false. It is not true that he fought against the Catholic Church. What he had fought against was Catholicism as practiced in the Philippines, not the Catholic Church. Around May 1889, Dr. Trinidad Fardo de Tavera arrived in the Paris to see the Universal Exposition. Informed Rizal, who had established residence there, that life in the Philippines was becoming impossible and predicted that if conditions did not improve, there would be a revolution within 10 years. He also told Rizal that he tried to defend him before Father Faura, explaining that in the attack upon the friars, the stone was thrown so high with such force that it reached religion. This comparison is not quite exact. Rizal corrected him. I wish to throw the missile against the friars, but as they made use of the rituals and superstitions of a religion as a shield, I had to get rid of that shield in order to wound the enemy that was hiding behind it. He also said God should not be utilized as a shield and protector of abuses, nor should religion be made use for that purpose. What happens in the Philippines is horrible. They abuse the name of religion to enrich their haciendas, to seduce an innocent girl, to destroy an enemy, to disturb the peace of the married couple, and rob a wife of her honor. Why should I not fight religion like that when it's the basic cause of miseries and tears? The responsibility falls on those who abuse his name. Christ did the same thing with the religion of his country when the Pharisees abused it. In other words, Rizal did not fight the Catholic religion. He fought those who abused the religion. Rizal was not against the Catholic religion but against the manner of Catholic religion was practiced by the friars in the Philippines during this time. Here is a part of a letter to Blumentritt which revealed his opinion of the Catholic religion. Dear Sir, you know our country through the books written by the friars and Spaniards who copied one another. If you had grown up in the village as I had seen the sufferings of our country folk, you would have a very different idea of Catholicism in the Philippines. I have had an opportunity to study religions in Europe. There I found the Christianity beautiful, sublime, divine, Catholicism attractive, poetic, the same Christianity poetized and beautiful, more beautiful than the insipid Protestantism. Our country folk do not know this difference. Did not for the simple reason that Rizal did not become a national hero because of his attacks against his religion. If no attack one's religion is to become a national hero, then Gregorio Aglipay, who had attacked the Catholic Church and founded the Filipino Church, would have been a greater hero than Rizal. Nothing is further from the truth because as a son of the Catholic Church, it was his duty to expose the sins and abuses committed by the friars in order to obtain reforms in the administration of his church. It would have been contrary to his status as Catholic had his expose been untrue, in which case he himself would have retracted it long before because of his obsession for truth, but his expose is true and admitted by all. In conclusion,
Good morning, sir. This is for the summary of our report. There are two sides of retraction of Rizal. First is the one that believed that Jose Rizal really had retraction, and the other hand says it is not true. Also, a publication of Spanish friars to disregard the contribution of Jose Rizal. So, important details about this retraction, if ever there was. There are friars who talk to Rizal privately to make a retraction, but it has condition. First, Rizal allowed to be married to Josephine Braga. Second is that Rizal was permitted to die as a member of a Catholic church. Those conditions, pinapatunayan lang po na si Rizal ay tao lang. Meron po siyang mga nabigong pag-ibig at ninanais niya lang po para sa sarili niya na makasal po siya. Dahil nga po most of his time is dedicated to our country, para nakalimutan na po niya magbigay ng time sa sarili niya. And this is the only way that he can give himself it is what you call self-choice po. Bigyan niya sarili sa mga gusto niya mangyari po bago siya mamatay. So on the other hand naman, other party pursued Rizal's retraction was not true. For the main reason is that they want to disregard the privileges of Jose Rizal as a national hero, and his contribution will be left behind. There are a lot of people hated Dr. Jose Rizal because of his writings about people of the Catholic Church. Madaming galit po kay Jose Rizal during that time dahil nga dun sa mga nasabi niya about sa Catholic people dun sa mga books niya po. So, the Catholic member want Jose Rizal to do the retraction is that want to show that Jose Rizal was defeated by them. Gusto nilang ipakita sa mga tao na mas makapangyarihan pa rin sila kaysa kay Jose Rizal. So basically po, yung retraction ni Rizal is written almost 2 years ago before his execution when Josephine Bracken came into Dapitan with the man who adopted her. Kasi gusto po nung tatay ni Josephine Bracken na magamot po siya ni Rizal sa kanyang kapansanan po sa mata. Alam naman po ni Rizal that time na pure Catholic po si Josephine Bracken, kaya alam niya rin po na mapapakasal lamang sila kung magpapakonvert po siya sa as a Catholic member po. Katulad nga sabi ko po kanina, isa po yun sa reason kung bakit ginawa ni Rizal yung retraction. So regardless po dun sa mga nakita ni Archbishop and ni Father Fee, nanatili lang po silang inosente na meron pong naka-imitate ng writings ni Jose Rizal. At yung totoong copy po ay tinago ng mga friars po. Talagang di po nila ma-explain kung sulat po ba ni Rizal yun or hindi. Regardless of the story, retraction has nothing to do with the greatness of our Dr. Jose Rizal. Pero mga retraction o wala, hindi mababago yung image ni Jose Rizal as our national hero. That's all. Thank you.